Welcome along. Oh dear. So welcome along, everybody. Bear with me 1 second whilst I get this sorted. But for some reason, we have lost the game. There we go. Now we're back. Good stuff indeed. Just in time then. Well, sorry about that. Welcome along then to the stream. Then welcome to Silver Season 8, Round 11 here in Spielberg, Austria. for this epic event. Then, of course, the Red Bull Ring, then a famous circuit now on the calendar after returning after a bit of a sabbatical as well a long time ago. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing how it's going to fare then here for the Silver Stallions then here tonight. And we get ourselves ready to get going here as well. My stream's gone as well. Brilliant stuff. And fantastic. There we are. Right then, good stuff indeed. Right then, here we are. Then Mr. Elite then is taking us through the first outing then of the circuit. Then as we go down towards turn 4 in the Papaya McLaren. Of course, that they had a bit of a fight then, didn't they? Last night, yesterday I should say. Then yesterday afternoon then in the Italian Grand Prix. In real life, that is. Bit of a problem then for Mr. Elite's teammate then. Kaido is having a bit of a trip through the gravel here. I'm not quite sure that is the best route to take around this circuit, but there we go. As Mr. Elite, finishing off the first flying lap of the session, then keeping it nice and tight, then through turns 9 and 10, and then powering to the line then for a 5.2 to set ourselves underway then here in qualifying. Then of course we've only got 14 minutes left. We started nice and early, and that is good stuff. Need reflection faster with a 4.7. Then the Williams driver then displacing Mr. Elite then by half a second I should say. Astrojon then reserving here tonight in the Rebel, then up into a 5.5 for his first outing as well. Then Kiki flying through, then Mumford flying through as well. Then here comes Vessia in the Ferrari, of course reserved last night in gold, so might have had a bit of practice under his wings then, but it's a 4.5 for him, then takes away that pole position from reflection as it stands. Good stuff indeed. Vanquish coming through the order as well. Then where is R2Beat and Mumford? Then here comes R2Beat in the other Ferrari, and up to the line for the Ferrari driver. It's a 5.4 for him, puts himself P4. Kiki then does a 16.5. Not sure that's representative of his time then. Of course, we've seen some pretty good times indeed then from Kiki in previous qualifying sessions this season. Vanquish then on to the second row of the grid with a 5.4 as well. Then he is 16 thousandths of a second away from Vessia as it stands then. Mumford is on the medium compound tyres then, and here comes Mumford then up towards the line. Then let's see what Mumford can do on the medium compound. It's a 4.6 for Mumford, then puts himself on the second row of the grid in the Alpine car then. Medium compound tyres as well then. Pretty good stuff indeed. There we go then. Kiki then cruising back round then. Astrojon is going forward again then. He's improved 0.2 of a second on his second outing I should say. Thank goodness me. And up into a 5.3 now. We just had someone else jump up the order. Who was that? It was Sweet MJP I believe, then into P5 then in the other Alpine. Then the Alpine's looking strong here in qualifying in the opening stages here. Nigel is off on a lap as well, then coming up the hill then towards turn, what is that, turn 3 now. Goodness me, I don't really count turn 2 as turn 2 really, but there we are. There is they have to make up as many turns as they can then. As good luck to all drivers, says R2Beat then in the comment section. A bit of rain in the race then at the start, says Gordo as well then. Team Meran and MHD then, it says Thunder as well then. As a Rebel and getting out of the way. It might be MHD then. No, it's not MHD. MHD just starting off a lap then. We'll come back to him then. We want to watch see what Nigel can do. Of course, a former champion in silver, and of course the first ever ALR champion when we only had the one division then back on the Sundays all those years ago now. I think it was probably almost over 5 years ago. That was, goodness me. Yes, I've got bigger since then. Good stuff indeed. And here comes Nigel then in the kick salve, then up to the line. A 5.1 puts himself P6 for the time being in his first outing then for the kick salve. Then R2Beat coming round sector 3 now as well. Then let's see what the Ferrari driver can do. Where is the rest of the field? Actually, we should find out what is going on then. We've got Mercedes and a Beast. Here comes Beast, and currently the championship leader. Then up to P1 then with a 3.8. Then that's fantastic stuff indeed from the Beast. Puts himself comfortably in pole position ahead of Vessia now as it stands. R2Beat improves then to a 4.6, then puts himself into P5 for the Ferrari driver. Good stuff indeed. Nigel going off the track then, trying to get himself out of the way. I think then here comes Jay Hings then flying through the last corners as well. Then here comes the Aston Martin to finish off his first flying lap here in qualifying. A 4.8 puts himself P9 for the time being as well, then displacing Nigel down to P10. Then where is MHD? I've completely missed him, haven't I? Goodness me. Sorry about that then, guys. Sorry, Thunder. But MHD has got himself up into P2 then with the 4.5. Then good stuff indeed from him. Unfortunately had a difficult time in gold last night. Didn't get past turn 1 then on the opening lap, and I'm not sure why, but there we go. And there we are then. That is good stuff indeed. Then Tonto on a lap then, his first lap as well. Then 10 minutes left of the session. It's a quick lap round here, but you need to get your times in on the board. Then Kamara Racer, the hometown hero, of course, the Austrian driver, then puts himself into P3. He is 5 thousandths away then from MHD on the front row of the grid then, but not quite then, just this first outing, I should say, with Kamara Racer. Here comes Tonto up to the line. It's P11 for him, then not a 4.9, then puts himself just outside the top 10 for the time being on his first attempt. Good stuff indeed. Where is the kick salver? Then that is the kick salver of Miranov. Then here comes Miranov, then up to the line. Then it's 4.3 for him. Then he is flying up there onto the first row of the grid. Then currently P2. No one can match Beast. Then no one can get themselves into the threes as it stands. There could be some track evolution to come as well, though, that we've still got time. Then we've got 10 minutes left of the session. But Miranov then up into P2, then onto the front row for Kicksalve, then looking good indeed. Replacing Potstuff tonight then, who unfortunately I think has got to work tonight then, so that is why he is not in the green machine. But Miranov then is stepping in then to do a good job as it stands as well. Then here comes Kamara Racing, and I think he's going to go for another lap. We see no, he's coming back round to the pit lane. Vanquish up into turn 3, then Gordo then slowing down, then Gordo's up into P9 with a 4.7 in the Aston Martin. Reflection back out on the lap as well. Then Tonto coming through and back in the pit lane. Never mind then, as Mr. Elite is looks like he was almost facing the wrong way there, but he is I'm not sure what he's doing then, is Mr. Elite, because he is starting a lap, it looks like, but not a conventional way of starting a lap there, unfortunately, for Mr. Elite. Kiki then is flying through then into sector 3, completing sector 2. Now what is he doing? He's 7 seconds up on his time. Goodness me, that would put him where would that put him exactly? I'm not quite sure. It wouldn't improve his position as it stands, but I think there's going to be some improvements then into sector 3 then for the Mercedes driver as we go through the final couple of quarters here for the here in this fantastic Red Bull ring. And here comes Kiki up to the line. It's a 4.2, displaces Miranov off the front row and locks out the front row as it stands then for Mercedes once again. Then we're familiar with this then this season between Kiki and Beast, then looking pretty strong out there as it stands then in this outing of qualifying. Then 0.2 of a second improvement then from Vessia as we go through into sector 3 then in the Ferrari, where is no, he's ahead of Reflection, so we'll come back to him. Let's see what Vessia can do then into the last couple of corners, and this is a very short lap indeed. Then can he maximise the grip? Not quite then, unfortunately, invalidating at the final corner, and it would have been a 4.6, which would not have improved his time, unfortunately. Then here comes Reflection, then Reflection back into the pit lane, then so we'll ignore what's oh goodness me, what's happened then to Gordo. Gordo's had a bit of an issue then at the exit of turn 4, it looks like then, so he's got himself back underway then. Mr. Elite coming over the crest of the hill at turn 1, then he's improved to P14 as it stands out there as well. Irvine is on track then coming down towards turn 4 as well. Let's go around. Then Rocket Lee has said good luck tonight, Silver. Then Thunder has said yo Alex, and Kian has said Meran. So there we go then, good stuff. As Jay Hings and Gordo apparently have got themselves in a bit of a kerfuffle then in the Aston Martin team. Not quite sure what has gone on there, but nonetheless, that is the situation there for those two. Astra John then back out on a lap, then going past the Haas of Tonto, who just started an outlap here, coming back to the pit lane. I think is Mr. Elite. Then goodness me, what's going on here? Then Sweet Energy's gone wide then at the final turn, and who is that then ahead of us? It's not Reflection, it's Kamara Racer then. Kamara, the hometown hero, could be under a bit of investigation, let's say, then with Sweet MJP then, because that was not good timing indeed then for the Williams driver, then trying to get himself back on track then for another flying lap then, and I think he was not on a flying lap as well then, so that could be very contentious indeed then for Sweet MJP if well, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen in the stewards room after that one. But Kamara Racer then might be in a bit of maybe a speck of trouble, let's say, then with the stewards if he is found to be blocking in qualifying, that is. But we've still got we've got to wait for the race to go forward first, and then we'll of course have to decide what's happened there. If there is anything that happened there, of course we will need to report it, and we will have to investigate. Go on, John then says Chappers as well then. Goodness me, 2 wins back to back, says Thunder as well then. Kiana said hello Sean. Unfortunately it's not Sean, so there you go. That's a nice one. There we go then. Here comes Kamara Racer then into the final turn, then swinging the back end round, and now let's see what can he do then up to the line. It's an improvement by a 0.5 of a second there, but he goes up to P5 then nonetheless, but unfortunately stays on the 3rd row of the grid as it stands as well. Then Vanquish is on another lap as well. Then we'll come back to Vanquish Vanquish, and I think we've got Sweet P coming back in the pit lane here. He is calling it a day then. Did I just see a bit of splash of rain then? It looks it's getting a bit cloudy and gloomy overhead. Potentially we might see a change in conditions during this qualifying session. Then Nigel starting off another lap then. Where is Maranov then back in the pit lane then for the other Kick Sauber, and we've got more action here with the well, we've got it's a racing bull, but he's not racing very fast at this stage. He is, I think, starting another lap then for Vanquish, then back underway then for the racing bull driver. Then good stuff indeed. Tonto then coming through the final couple of corners, invalidating at the final corner, and well, penalty corner I should say. Then goodness me, but unfortunately that is going to be costly indeed. And he did improve on his time. That would have put him into P11 or P12 roughly, so he would have improved by 3 places. Then unfortunately for Tonto, then not good enough. Then on that lap, then Kaidel was also invalidated as well. Then Nigel is coming through into sector 3 here in the Kick Sauber. Then can he improve then on P18 currently as we crash the top of the hill, then down towards turn 9, then into the last couple of corners here for the Kick Sauber, then flicking it into the final turn and making sure he don't go too wide, then over the curve, then on the exit, then up to the line for Nigel. It's a 4.7, puts himself P12 in the end there as well. Then good stuff indeed. Then Farf has invalidated his time, so nothing new there. We love Alex and Sean, and to be fair, Sean does a much better job than I do in commentary, but unfortunately we need to give his voice a rest every now and then, so yeah, that's why I take over for Silver then. But there we go then, as looks like rain, says Rocket Lee. Then yes, I think just alluding to the same thing then, it's getting a bit cloudy overhead now, and I think we might see a change of conditions here. We might get a last flurry of action then in qualifying before the rain starts to fall then, as Gordo then coming through the penultimate corner. Then he's coming back to the pit lane now. Unfortunately he is abandoning his lap time here. Then R2 Beat is not abandoning his lap time. No, R2 Beat has gone wide at the final corner, though, unfortunately costing him a valid lap. Then he did improve by 8 thousandths of a second, then which wouldn't have improved his position, but unfortunately that is R2 Beat going back around, then coming back to the pit lane now as well. Then out lap for Beast, back out on track as well here. Tonto then not improving into sector 1, then Farf back out on circuit then in P19. Then unfortunately Farf not set a time just yet. Then same for Irvine as well. Then hopefully Irvine can get himself out of the pit lane sometime soon and get himself a lap on the board. Then here comes his teammate Tonto then into sector 2, then flying through turns 5 and now turn 6 very shortly, but we'll have to wait and see what the delta is saying. Then into sector 3, then 68 thousandths of a second, then up on his previous time, then going through. Oh, he's gone wide over the curbs there, and unfortunately that's cost him indeed, and I think he's got time to come back in the pit lane and go again actually, so it's not too bad. But yeah, unfortunately Tonto, that invalidation was very costly indeed on that lap, as R2 Beat is cruising back to the pit lane here as well. Then yellow flags fluttering, not quite sure for who or for what, but yes, everyone's on an out then, so unfortunately you don't have to worry about anyway, never mind. Here comes Ultimate Beast then. Beast is back out on circuit then, and he is he's having a bit of a problem then trying to keep it on the track at the moment, so that is good stuff indeed. And R2 Beat has started off another lap then, so R2 Beat not back in the pit lane on this Ferrari on these soft compound tyres. He's gone 2 tenths faster than into turn 1 and turn 3, sorry, and yeah, hopefully that Williams does get out of the way this time. Thankfully it does. And there we go then, down towards turn 4 for the Ferrari driver, then heading into the heavy braking zone down the hill. Then easy to lock up here, and he has locked up the right front inside. Then his teammate Vessia trying to get out of the way then as we go through towards turn 5 now. Here comes the Ferrari, flicking it into the left hand and then flying down. Oh goodness me, there's a bit of brake dust then in his way. 2 tenths of a second up on his previous time as well. Then into sector 3 we go then. And just hoping that the Mercedes of Beast, I think, gets out of the way. Then Beast was having a bit of a trouble on his lap. There we go then, into turn 9 we go now for the Ferrari, and now flicking it into the final turn, keeping it valid this time as well. Then for R2 Beat, then up to the line. What's it going to be? It's an improvement by 1/10 of a second. Stays P10 for the Ferrari driver. Then good stuff indeed, though, an improvement nonetheless. Then, and that has kept him in the realms then of the top 10 as it stands, and improved his position slightly as well. Then we'll have to wait and see then if he's going to stay in the top 10. Though we'll have to find out then later on in qualifying, as Beast is heading up towards the top of the hill. And then goodness me, what is going on here then? R2 Beat didn't seem to be wanting to get out of the way then of the following driver, but there we go. As we go through towards turn 4 now as well then. And yes, just need to be very aware then of other cars on their laps as well then behind you or around you, to be honest, because it can get a bit dangerous out here. 45 seconds left of qualifying now, as all the drivers then out on track, apart from Astra John then, who is done and dusted, I think, in qualifying here, and he will be P17 at best in this session as well now. Irvine and Farf then also out on track as well. Then we'll come across them in a minute. We'll have a look and see what Tonto's up to. Tonto's coming across the line then very shortly to start off a lap. And here comes Beast into the final turn. Then he is not improving on this lap, I don't think then, but he has crossed the line then to finish off his qualifying session, I think. Vessia then, oh dear, Vessia has had a bit of a smash then, and is out of qualifying then as well. Then here comes Kydell. Then Kydell is crossing the line. Then Kydell to start off on that. Then never mind. Goodness me, can't keep up with all of this. As they're going to cross the line very quickly indeed. Then as here comes Mr. Elite. Then unfortunately he has got time to start a lap. Then actually Jay Hings crosses the line. Then P12 for him. Then improves to a 4.6 in the end. Then Sweet P then down to P10. Then Reflection P9 Vanquish up into P6. Brilliant stuff indeed from him. Sweet P is retired in the pit lane. Then where is the next drivers across the line? It's Miranov. Then Miranov then up to the line. Then he stays P2, and Gordo takes P2 with a 4.1 then. Brilliant stuff indeed from the Aston Martin driver. Then where's the next Mercedes of Kiki? Sorry, it's P3 for Kiki. A 4.2 as well. Then goodness me, the time's tumbling in here, and yeah, can't keep up with who's crossing the line next, to be honest. I think it's Irvine up into P17, and here comes his teammate. Then can he displace Irvine back down the order? Not quite then, as Nigel then is having a bit of a trouble there, it looks like, on the start-finish line there. So goodness me, Kydell then down to a P20, unfortunately then for Kydell, but he is looking to improve then, unfortunately not, then into the final turn. Then he invalidates then on the final corner, finishes P20 then. Unfortunately for him then, Mr. Elite is the only man on circuit now, so we're having to wait for Mr. Elite to get himself back to the pit lane, but that is qualifying done and dusted. And on pole position then once again is Ultimate Beast then in the Mercedes, and a fantastic 3.886 to set ourselves the pole time, and that was done very early on in the session as well then, so brilliant stuff indeed from the Beast. And fantastic stuff indeed then from the Mercedes driver as well. Then he has got himself on pole position once again here in Austria. Gordo then splits the Mercedes pair, then P2 for Gordo. A fantastic improvement on his final lap there as well. Then brilliant stuff indeed then from, I think it was a 4.7, then all the way up to a 4.1 then for the Aston Martin driver. Then Kiki P3 with a 4.2, then just ahead of Miranov then, who is 4th place then on the second row of the grid. Then Mumford P5, Camaro Racer in P6, Vanquish in P7, MHD in P8, and some more drivers then further down the order. Good stuff indeed then. Beast is absolutely rapid then. Good lap from says Gordo. Sorry, good lap Gordo, says Rocket Lee, and that was good. Surprised myself as well then. Brilliant stuff indeed. There is your order. There is the well, pretty gloomy background then over the over the Styrian Mountains. There we go then. MHD with P8, then Vessia P9, and Reflection rounds off the top 10. Sweet P P11, R2 Beat P12, J Hings P13, Mr. Elite P14, Farf P15, Nigel P16, Irvine P17, Tonto P18, Astra John P19, and Kydell P20. Goodness me, I need to have a breath then. Right then, we'll be back very shortly after a word from our lovely sponsors. My goodness me, it is a bit wet here in Austria, and that is definitely, well, I would imagine it's definitely heavy wet conditions then to start off this Grand Prix. We did have a bit of, we got rain in Q2 then, says Thunder then. Well, it's not Q2 just yet then. We're going into the race now, Thunder. We've got a wet start to the Grand Prix here. And yes, full wet conditions then, it looks like then, to start us off here for this Grand Prix as well. goodness me, that is, well, it's the Minecraft rain back again then as we head towards turn 1 then on the formation lap. We will put the tyre compounds on, but I'm pretty sure everyone's on wet compound tyres. So that is the starting position. That is the starting order. That is the way we're going to go then for the beginning of this race then. Apparently, for Gordo anyway, he said that it's going to dry up during the Grand Prix. We'll have to wait and see then, but it is going to be full wet conditions here for the start of the race then, which is going to be very difficult stuff indeed, especially around this track then in these sort of conditions. And it's not too easy around here in the dry, that is, so it's going to be even more difficult in full wet conditions as well then. Hoping all the drivers then have got their umbrellas ready then, well, they hopefully have their umbrellas taken away from them now to start the race. But yeah, you probably would be all right then having an umbrella then in the cockpit then just for the Grand Prix itself then. But I'm not sure it'd be too good for your eyesight, or eye line I should say then, but there we are. It's got that thunder weather then in the strategy thing. I've never seen that before then. So we're going to have thunder and lightning here in Austria for the Grand Prix tonight then. Looking forward to that then. It seems to be pretty heavy rain here as it stands then. So it's going to get worse potentially even. We'll have to wait and see then as we finish off the formation lap, as drivers are trying to warm up their tyres and get themselves, or get their tyres into at least an optimum sort of operating window then to get themselves a race start, or a good race start that is, then heading towards turn 1 then up the hill towards turn 1. Beast almost going in the pit lane there, so that was interesting, but he's managed to keep it out of the pit lane as well, and getting himself back on the grid then to line up then on the starting slots then for this Grand Prix. Right then, I'm in Austria, says Thunder then, so yeah, it looks like it. But, well, yeah, it probably will do it will feel like it for the drivers anyway. So here we go then, lining up on the grid then. Again, a fantastic camera angle then of the Styrian Hills and the Red Bull Ring, but unfortunately, especially with the rain, we can't actually see the cars. So, yes, we saw this in 100% then only a week ago then, but unfortunately, we're going to have to jump on board then with Gordo in P2 to watch the starting lights come on here, as well as all drivers then line up on the grid to get ourselves started then. 4, 3, 5, 4, 5 red lights are on here in Austria, and then the 5 red lights are out, and away we go then for 36 laps of the Austrian Grand Prix. A good start then, it looks like, for Gordo then, but I can't quite tell then through the smoke then. Oh goodness me, there's action in the background as well then. There's also a racing bull off the circuit then. That's Vanquish. I think they're having an issue into turn 1 there as we go through into the second straight then on the circuit. Then Gordo and Beast have got away, so has Kiki. Mumford as well is gained a place then. Kamara Race is gained a place then. Moranov then dropping down the order. Yellow flags in the background. It's for Nigel and Farf. Oh goodness me. As we head into turn 3 then, this is going to be treacherous stuff indeed. There's a car going wide, there's a racing bull and an Aston Martin going wide there at the exit of turn 3 as well then. Goodness me, it's not an easy start. Like I said, then Moranov dropping down to P8, then Reflection up into P7. Brilliant stuff from him. Then into turn 4 we go, and we can't see the cars. It is that bad, these conditions. Then MHD and Mr. Elite then battling away, then Mr. Elite up into P10 then. Brilliant stuff indeed. Oh dear, there's a Williams car off the circuit then. That's Kamara Racer then, who's having an issue. And it looked like there was something flying off the car then, but potentially it was just the polystyrene braking boards there, but it looks like the car is all intact, which is good stuff indeed at least. Vess here has gained 4 places, and out in front then the gap is half a second. Then we go down the order, then Irvine has got himself past Sweet 100p, then into the crest of the hill, then down towards turn 9 now, as in the background you can see the famous ornament then, or the famous statue then of the racing bull itself then. Ultra V set the fastest lap of the race, and of course the first lap is done and dusted here in Austria as well. Then down the back then Nigel's got an issue then. I think he's got himself back underway, but unfortunately struggling in these wet conditions, as well as Farf. Then Farf's lost 4 places then, so has Sweet 100p as well then, and Vanquish has lost 5 places then from that start, as has Moranov. Reflection passing his teammate then in towards turn 3, then going to go side by side in the Williams then, and slotting in behind then is Kamara Racer then, staying, or dropping down to P7 I should say. Then out in front then, the gap still steady then between the top 3 then. Mumford trying to get himself back in the fight then for his championship challenge as well then, of course, and he needs to get himself back on the podium places then to try and rival Beast I should say then, as I can't quite see the cars into turn 4 then, but they're still there somewhere. And Moranov then down into P9. Mr. Elite, they're looking good then, up 4 places as well into the top 10 for the time being. Then Astrojon has passed Vanquish, and Vanquish I think is struggling then out there on in these wet conditions, and Astrojon then is fighting back though as we go into sector 3 then, side by side then through turn 6 now, and I think Vanquish has got the move then. Goodness me. Thunder has said lol. Yeah, yeah, it's lol because you can't really see what's going on then. There they are then coming over the top of the hill then. Goodness me, I thought Astrodron was going to go side by side through there. B sets the fastest lap of the race then, once again trying to stretch his legs out in front. And of course he's got a benefit then, of course no tyre spray or no spray coming off the back of the car in front of him because there is no car in front of him. He is currently leading the Grand Prix, and that is the benefit then in the wet conditions and of racing and in these horrible conditions is if you're in the race lead or if you've got clear air, then you can at least see where you're going. But unfortunately, as we can ride on board here with Astro John, you can't quite see too much then as we go up the hill then towards turn 3. Oh, not as much as you can in the dry, and goodness me, it's laid on the brakes then once again then, but nothing doing then for the oh goodness, we've got action down the order though. Farf and Kydell then. Kydell's off the circuit there, so he's gone for a trip somewhere as well then. Maranov has been passed by Mr. Elite then in towards turn 4 then. Mr. Elite on a charge then in the McLaren, looking good so far then. Tonto's past Sweet P then down towards turn 4 as well. Then there's contact between the two of them, and unfortunately, like I said, you can't turn in if there's a car there. I think I said that in Austria 100% as well then, but Sweet P's having a few troubles out there as well then. Goodness me. Round the outside goes Farf now as well. That he's got himself the move then up into P17 passes. Sweet P's having a problem out there. It looks like not having a great time in these wet conditions, and Kydell and Nigel are catching up to the back of the pack now. The field spread is not too great then as it stands, but Mr. Beast, Mr. Ultimate Beast, sorry, is stretching his legs, and he's got a 1 second gap now over Gordo, who has got a 1.7 second gap over Kiki, and now being put pressure on by Mumford as well. Then Mumford is challenging for that final podium place here as we go up the hill. Then I think Mumford is going to try and line up a move as well. Then up towards turn 3 we go, then side by side between the Alpine and the Mercedes drivers, and up into turn 3 then Mumford has got the position up into turn 3. Then he claims back that podium place. Then Mumford now on the charge. Then can he get himself further up the order? Can he chase down Gordo? Can he chase down the race leader? The pole sitter of Beast as well on lap 4 only. We've got quite a few laps to go still as Tonto and Jay Hing switching places. Then Tonto's ahead now of the Aston Martin as we get ourselves further into this race. Then down towards turn 4 once again then between these two, Vanquish and Irvine, then switching places. Then goodness me, there's contact between Vanquish, and he's ghosted thankfully because Tonto almost went into him then as well. But Vanquish then is really struggling in these conditions, and I thought that we had Tonto then going for the move. Oh, we have got Tonto trying to go for the move around the outside into turn 5, and I can't say where he is then. Yes, there he is then as well. And now we've got Jay Hings looking to get himself involved into turn 6 as well. Then goodness me. And thankfully they've all thought better of it and thought and tried to keep themselves alive in this race. And they have done. So that's fantastic stuff indeed. Then Farf has passed Jay Hings in in towards turn 9 then. And Jay Hings dropping down to P17 here as it stands. Then goodness me, there's more contact between the Racing Ball and the Haas. Then he went into the diffuser then of the Haas, did Farf. But nonetheless, then he's carrying on. Then Kydell's lost out to Nigel. And Nigel now trying to catch up to the back of the pack here. Gordo then is fluctuating just under a second then behind Beast, and Mumford is catching up to the pair of them, I should say. Then here we go. Here comes R2B then into turn 3, then ahead now of the Williams of Kamara Racing. There's a bit of a Ferrari Williams battle forming up here with Vessia P5 then in the Ferrari, of R2B now P7, and both the Williams then P6 and P8 respectively. And Mr. Elite then has joined this fight as well then for that P8 position, then trying to get himself alongside or past the Kamara Racer, of course, the hometown hero. Then MHD has got, oh dear, goodness me, then there's late on the brakes indeed. Then that was between Irvine and Astro John then, and MHD I think almost involved in that as well, as the Red Bull's trying to gang up then on the Haas driver, it looks like, as we go through into sector 3 very shortly then. Tonto and Beast flying, says Ekbaz. Let's see what they can do then in this race then as well. Then Tonto has gained 3 places then off the starting slot, and let's see if he can get himself further up the order as well. Then he's lost out to Farf, has he? Or not quite. They're going to go side by side over the crest of the hill, then down towards turn 9, and this is going to get tight indeed then. Oh goodness me, I think Tonto very wisely then backed out of that one, knowing that it could be catastrophic if he tried to keep his nose in that one as well. Farf now right behind his teammate. Then we saw them having a few problems then in Spain, the two Racing Bull drivers then, but hopefully this time, even in these conditions, then hopefully this time they can sort themselves out then and race fairly between the pair of them then as well. A bit of an Alpine moment then that they had then in the last race in Spain then, but there we go. Out in front, the gaps then stabilising. Vessia then trying to keep up with the top four now. Reflections 4 seconds back then. Reflections doing a good job out there, but he's losing time then to the top 5. R2 beats 2.7 seconds back. Then Kamara's dropped off the back of R2 beats slightly as well. Then Mr. Elite is still pressuring that Williams car then down towards turn 4. And Mr. Elite is looking good out here on lap 6 so far. Astrojon then holds on to P11 then ahead of Irvine as it stands. Both of these two have gained quite a lot of places. Then Vanquish picks up a 3-second penalty. I'm not quite sure where. Out of turn 4 somehow, so I'm not quite sure how he's gone wide or over the white lines that much on that part of the circuit. But there we go, as we've had something happen here as well. Nigel and we've had Nigel and Sweet then battling away then through turn 6, then round the outside goes Nigel. We can't see him anymore, but oh my goodness me, that back end stepping out all over the place then for the kick salve. Then he has made the move then, but goodness me, that looked like it could be ending very badly indeed for the kick Sauber driver then, but he's got himself back in shape then and back underway. Thankfully that is as well. Then here comes Farf then on the attack then with his teammate then down the main straight. There's a fantastic shot there of the racing balls racing through in the rain, but unfortunately for Farf then he has to stay behind them and bide his time for the time being. That is out in front then. The gap still, the gap actually is extending now to over 2 seconds almost between Beast and Gorda. Then 1.2 seconds back to Mumford. Then Kiki then waiting in the wings then for a final podium place potentially as well. Then Kamara Racer is under pressure. Well, he's now put the pressure back on R2 Beat here, it looks like. Mr. Fleet is following through though as well. So is Moranov then in the top 10, rounding off the top 10 as it stands for Kick Sauber. Farf and Tonto then. Oh goodness me, he's got himself through then as Tonto then into turn 4 then, and now splits the racing balls then into turn 4 on lap 7 here as well. Then brilliant stuff indeed. He has got himself through, and now on the attack once again then on another racing ball. This time it's Vanquish then who is ahead of us. He's got a penalty to his name as well then, as Vanquish then coming through turn 4 somewhere it popped up. So yes, interesting stuff indeed. And there is a nice onboard shot then with the front wing then of the Haas of Tonto trying to catch up to that racing ball diffuser. As you can see in front then, cresting the hill then down towards turn 9 and then turn 10 to finish off lap 7. Then on to lap 8 we go as we cross into the final corner now as well. Then here comes Tonto then on the charge. Then 5 going very wide there and maybe getting a bit of a track extension warning I would have to imagine. As there we go then on to lap 8 now we go then for Tonto then out in front. We've got a battle I should say with Mr. Elite then, with Kamara Racer and with Moranov then involved as well. Then these three heading up towards turn 3 as well. Then into turn 3 we go. Then Mr. Elite holds on to the place and takes the place. Then P8 now for Mr. Elite. Brilliant stuff indeed. Kamara then drops down to P9 but holds off the place then from Moranov as well. As we go down towards turn 4 once again then, we are what are we, almost a quarter of the way then through this Grand Prix, and so far so good. Then there's a Red Bull then Astra John then trying to line up a move. Then around the outside goes Irvine as well. Then can he hold on to it? Not quite. And goodness me, it's late 8 laps of action out here, and been fantastic stuff indeed. And these conditions are really horrible. It's stuff indeed to race in as well. Then here comes Tonto round the outside at turn 5. Can he hold it now? He's going into turn 6 next as well then. And they're going to be close indeed. They're going to be side by side indeed. And there is Tonto. Then Kamara Racer picks up a penalty. Then there's contact between the two of them and Tonto goes through. And so does Farf as well. Goodness me. It's only been 9 laps. Well, only been 8 laps really, but it's 8 laps of action. Then Tonto going wide, then that could open the door for Farf now down towards turn 1, then up towards turn 1 I should say. I think it's a bit of a slope then, heading up towards turn 1, but Tonto holds on to the position now. He's got a 1.5 second gap to MHD, and these drivers then struggling away in these wet conditions then, but doing a fantastic job so far of staying in this race as it stands then, because I would probably be out of it by now. But there we go then. Mumford has got a got a 6/10 gap. Then goodness me, sliding into turn 4. He's got a 6/10 gap to Gorda. Then Gorda's brought the gap back down to Beast by to 1.6 seconds. And Kiki dropping off the back a bit slightly. Then we've got more action down the back of the field. There's Vanquish and Jay Hings at turn 3, and there's a Kick Sauber involved as well here, as Jay Hings has got himself past Vanquish, has he? There's always close indeed. Then goodness me, it's tight indeed there. And we go into turn 4 then, and Vanquish almost turning into the Aston Martin, and that has cost into Nigel as well. Then Nigel's gone through for P17 here as well then. Oh goodness me, I nearly died. As we head into turn 5 next, I have to keep going on board to see what's actually going on, because I can't see through the spray everywhere. And Jay Hings it up into P16, Nigel up into P17, Vanquish dropping down the order. Then Moranov picks up a penalty, and that's bad news for Moranov then into where there's on the exit of turn 8 and 9, turn 7 and 8 I should say then, as Moranov then into P10 then, but now we'll be losing out then mathematically with the penalty situation. Then we'll have to wait and see how it's going to unfold. Out in front then, We've got Mumford. He is closing in then on Gordo for that P2 position. Then we'll have to look. We'll come back to that. We've got battles then down the field then for the final points paying positions as well. Then Astrojon is in the fight. Irvine is in the fight as well here. And Tonto is in a bit of a fight with Farf, which is definitely not a fight you want to get into. But there you go then. So here we go up to turn 3. Here comes Astrojon then into turn 3. Then not quite. Then here comes Irvine then trying to get a different angle then through the corner and try and maximise the traction, maximise the grip, then maximise the pace then on the exit then down towards turn 4. Here we go then for Irvine. Then can he make the move then into the braking zone? Not quite then, as there's all sorts of action then piling up in front then. Kamara Razor then unfortunately is dropping off the Mr. Elites then, and the R2 Beats unfortunately at this stage of the race. 10 laps in then of the Grand Prix then potentially. Doesn't seem to be abating then at this stage of the race. Then potentially we might see a bit of a lighter rain then, or maybe even dry up then in the latter stages of the race. Then out in front though, let's have a look at this then, because there is Mumford Place then setting the fastest lap of the race. And he's all over the back now of the Aston Martin of Gordo as we head into turn 1 now. Here comes the Alpine on the attack this time, then heading up towards turn 3 once again. Then it was to go through turn 2, which doesn't count as a turn in my opinion. And now side by side then here comes Mumford then on the attack then into the braking zone, late on the brakes as well then into turn 3. Then he gets the place then I think just about then ahead of Gordo, but can Gordo fight back then down towards turn 4? Kamara Racer picks up a 3-second penalty as we go through onto lap 11 now as well. And Mumford has got the place, and Mumford has taken the place away from the Aston Martin Gordo. Now it's the two championship challengers then between them. 1.6 seconds separates the championship protagonists, and of course Gordo is in the championship fight as well. Then here's P3, but Mumford is P2 and Beast is P1 as it stands in, and they're in that championship order as well as it stands. But Mumford wants to do something about that and change the order, of course, and he is going very quickly indeed then through sector 2, setting a purple sector once again then for the Alpine driver. Then brilliant stuff indeed as we head into lap 12 now. Goodness me, I'm almost dying. Then lap 12 then will be a third of the way through then. Oh dear, Gordo having a bit of a problem then as we go into the final corner. Then unfortunately lap 12 then is Beast, Mumford sets the fastest lap of the race then once again. Yeah, lap 12 as we've got ourselves a third of the way through this Grand Prix then. And so far so good. What's happened though, Kamara Racer is not having a good time. Then Kamara Racer is off the circuit, or not off the circuit but off the line then, having an issue somewhere. And I think he's coming into the pit lane here. Yes, he is then. So he's calling it a day then on the wet compound tyres. Unfortunately for Kamara Racer, the hometown hero as well, is into the pits then. The first driver to make a pit stop in this Grand Prix. And as Kaido is going to go through then as well, as Kamara Racer has retired in the pit lane. And goodness me. Well, unfortunately, that's not going to go too well then for your home Grand Prix then if you're going to retire in the pits, I'm afraid. But there we are then, he is out of the race then, the first retirement, the only retirement then of the Grand Prix on lap 12 as we head through then on to lap 13 very shortly. Then there is the gap, then there is the race leader then of Beast ahead of us then as we ride on board with the front wing then heading through sector 3 then as we go towards the first or the final couple of quarters then of turn 9 and turn 10. Then the gap is just over a second between Mumford and Mr. Beast, Ultimate Beast I should say then, goodness me, as we head into lap 13 now. The gap under a second now for Mumford. Then Mumford is really charging on here, look at him go, and those wet compound tyres are really working very nicely then on the Alpine car as we head through turn 1 once again. Then the gap now coming down then in his favour. Then he's on the attack then for the race lead. We'll come back to him then because Astrojon is all over the back of Irvine then as we go into turn 9 and turn 10 as well. And Irvine has got himself into the top 10 as it stands, with Kamara Racer then having a bit of a problem then pinning and quitting in this race. And Tonto then is all over the back of MHD as we head towards turn 1, and MHD has let the Haas driver go through I think there, not wanting to get involved in the fight I should say there. But Tonto's gone very wide at turn 1 and that might be costly then, might be a warning then for the Haas driver then, unfortunately for him. He's up into P13 now, looking good so far. Brilliant stuff indeed. Out in front the gap is 0.2 of a second then between the race leaders, and this is going to get tight indeed. Then Jay Hings and Vanquish and battling away then into turn 3 as we're going to go right on board with Mumford then and see what he can do then. Can he get himself into the race lead here? Oh my goodness me, it's getting a bit slippery out there for both the drivers it looks like, heading through turn 7 and 8 then. Down the hill into turn 9 then 0.2 of a second separates the championship protagonists as well, you could say, because they're both leading the championship, well both in contention for the championship then. But so far so good then, and so far out ahead of everybody else as well then, and this is what they're repeating in this race here tonight as well here. Crossing into turn 1 then, oh dear, Mumford then getting a bit squirrely then on the power as well then out of turn 1, and might have lost himself a bit of a tenth or two I should say as we go through up the hill then back towards turn 3. Then here comes Mumford on the attack then, can he a late break then into turn 3. Not quite, then he stays behind. And we've got more action then as Irvine has passed Meranov, then up into P9, then pit stop action for MHD and for Jay Hings, and calling it a day then on the wet compound tyres, or are they going to go for another set of wet compound tyres here? We'll have to find out. It looks like intermediate's going on MHD. Yes, it is. MHD is going for the intermediate tyres here. And is Jay Hings going to do the same thing? Yes, he is as well. So intermediate tyres going on the cars here for the Red Bull and the Aston Martin as it stands. Only 2 drivers then who have pitted in this race there. We will have to track their progress then as we get ourselves through this Grand Prix. Not at halfway just yet then, but 0.3 of a second separates the top 2 as we cross into lap 15 very shortly as well then. Looking good so far for Mumford, who's gained 4 places then off the starting positions. Beast, of course, qualified on pole position then and has led the Grand Prix from the opening lap. Then yellow flags. It's for a problem for Kydell. I think Kydell's had an issue. And yes, was it MHD? No, I think it was Kydell then. Kydell's having an issue and back underway then. And it seems to he's got his front wing intact at least, which is good stuff indeed. Then out in front, no pit stops being made just yet then, but here comes Mumford then on the attack. Then here comes Mumford then for the race lead. There's contact between the 2 of them there as we go into turn 3. Mumford late on the brakes once again. Then Beast trying to go for the switchback here on the power. Then out of turn 3. Then this is where it gets slippery indeed then, and Beast has lost out to the race lead. Then just about then to Mumford, who's got himself through, but Beast is back through on the attack. Then down towards turn 4 on the inside. Then there's contact again between the race leaders as we head into turn 4. Then Beast has got the inside. Mumford's got the grip and the racing line on the outside as well as we head towards turn 5. Mumford, I think, is going to hold on to the race lead. And blimey, that was close stuff indeed then between the championship protagonists, and they could have been very costly between both of them out of the Grand Prix at that stage of the race then. But Mumford takes the lead now on lap 15. It's getting close indeed between these 2. I think now Mumford then with the extra pace then, as we got what's happening here. Beast is coming into the pit lane now. It looks like Beast coming into the box and calling it a day then on the wet compound tyres. And is he going to go for the intermediate compound tyres as well? Then we've just seen Sweet pit for the intermediates as well. Then Beast from P2 then was in the race lead for the first 14 laps of this Grand Prix, has called it a day then on the wet compound tyres onto a set of intermediate compound tyres, and away he goes then for the championship leader. Then this is going to get interesting stuff indeed then. Where is he going to come out as well is the other question. If he's going to be in traffic, that's going to be a bit problematic then for the Beast as we head through into turn 1 then on the exit of the pit lane now as well. Then here comes Beast out of the pit lane. He's behind Reflection but ahead of R2B, Mr. Elite and Irvine as well then, so not too shabby for the Beast then. Good stuff indeed. A good stop then from the Mercedes drivers, Mercedes mechanics, sorry, I should say then, as we head into the final turn then for Nigel. Then he's going to gain a few places here, I would imagine, as MHD sets the fastest lap of the race. Then Jay Hings follows him as well. Then Jay Hings, of course, did pit a lap earlier then, so I think they called it, these 2 called it at the right time then, did Jay Hings and MHD then. Perfect timing indeed then for those going onto the intermediate compound tyres. Then here comes Farf. Then Farf has just come out the pit lane, I think then, and trying to get himself back past MHD then into turn 3. Then yes, he's made it. Vanquish also in the pits as well. Then Kydell yet to pit at this stage of the race, I believe. Into the pits comes Gordon. Then Mumford is staying out. Then Mumford is carrying on then on these wet compound tyres. I think he's trying to soldier on at this stage, then trying to get himself into a window, then potentially to do a 1-stop then, because we might see the intermediate start to drop off towards the end of the Grand Prix. They've still got to do 20 laps from here, which might be a bit of a problematic situation then towards the end of the Grand Prix. So potentially what Mumford is doing here is extending the wet stint, even though it might be intermediate compound tyres right now. Extending the wet stint then so we can go on to intermediate compound tyres in a couple of laps time instead of having to pit right now, and then potentially go to the end then on 1 set of inters, where other people who pit for inters might have to pit again for another set of inters. If you catch my drift, you probably don't. So there we go. What happened to Meran? Went for dinner and I'm back now. He lost a lot of places then, unfortunately, then with the on the first lap then on the wet conditions then, but he's gaining some places back now as well. Then here comes Irvine out of the pit lane. Meranov is going to be very close proximity then to the Haas driver, then not quite for P10. Tonto coming out the pit lane in P16 and back underway then for the Haas driver as well then. Good stuff indeed. Kydell then still soldiering on out there on the wet compound tyres, so maybe doing a similar strategy then to Mumford. Astrodron has also stayed out then in the Red Bull. Then he's currently P6 in. There's only 3 drivers left on the wet compound tyre. Then Mumford coming in the pit lane now as well, then calling it a day finally on his wet compound tyres too. As we get to the halfway point then of this Grand Prix, lap 18, penalties starting to fall in. Then Astrodron then picks up a penalty, so does Meranov as well then in P11, sorry. Beast then sets the fastest lap of the race. Then Beast is going to get himself back into the race lead here. Mumford coming out of the pit lane now, can see his championship rival then disappearing off down towards turn 2 and turn 3. Out of the pits comes Mumford, then he is in P2, then he's taken that place, so he stayed ahead of that Aston Martin of Gordo by just over 1 second, or just under 1 second now as well, as we head up the hill. Then of course Gordo's warmed his intermediate compound tyres up a bit more than Mumford are coming out of the pit lane on this lap as well, then so he's going to have a bit more grip, a bit more knowledge then of the lap as we go through on these intermediates then to start us underway then for the intermediate stint. It looks like, but potentially we'll see it might dry out then towards the end of the Grand Prix. We'll have to wait and find out. But so far on the halfway point then it's changed from wets to intermediates then as we head into turn 4 now with Vessier. Then Vessier has got himself into the fight then with Kiki as well. Then Reflection has got 8 seconds then to try and catch up to Astra John then for that P6 position. Then Mr. Elite is roll over the back of R2 Beat as well then as we head down towards turn 4. Then can he make a late move then into turn 4? Not quite then for the McLaren, and he's got a Haas then of Irvine as well for company as we head into that next section of the track then, sector 2. Then Kaido is in the pit lane and onto a set of intermediate compound tyres as well then, so good stuff from Kaido then keeping going in this Grand Prix as we head into the halfway point then, head past the halfway point I should say then of this race as well. Then Gordo sets the fastest lap of the race, then brilliant stuff from Gordo. He is pushing on, then Vessier sets the fastest lap of the race as well then, so Vessier is really on a charge now on these intermediate compound tyres. Potentially we might see a changing of the guard, then changing of the fortunes then in this second half of the race now as well. Mr. Elite seems to have got himself some wet. Oh goodness me, what's going on here? Blimey, that is not an overtaking place, MHD. Jay Hings, I think, was trying to get himself through as well then, and Nigel was right in the fight as well. Then goodness me, then going to go side by side through turn 1. Then that is not an overtaking place either, to be honest, as Jay Hings though is looking for a switchback then on the Red Bull car, then heading up towards turn 3 now, and he has got some extra pace. Then he's got a slipstream then on the Red Bull car as well. Going to go for the inside then up the hill, and he has got the position. I think we will have the position then momentarily at least as we head into the braking zone of turn 3. Then he has got the place, then he's trying to hold off the Red Bull car, but on the traction then MHD is flying through, and Nigel is watching these two battle away then, but on the traction then Jay Hings and MHD then sliding down towards turn 4. Goodness me, I thought there was going to be contact there, but oh god, there's MHD's back end stepping out there as well, and Nigel now is flying through then. Nigel going to go through both of them then, is he? Yes he is then, is the kicks out, and then what a fantastic move then from Nigel. He's taken 2 of them then into turn 5 then up into P13. A brilliant move indeed for the Green Machine then as well. Then fantastic stuff indeed, and we didn't see that really coming then, but Nigel then saw it coming from miles away. It looks like he's got himself through then up into P13 and flying on then in the kick sour. Then good stuff indeed then. Aston John has called it a day finally on the wet compound tyres, then into the pits then for the Red Bull, then onto a set of intermediate compound tyres. He's going to lose out then to this pack here as well, I'd imagine. And Tonto has caught up to the battle as well. Then Tonto now up into P15 as we head through turn 1 here as well. So finally, good stuff indeed. And through goes Nigel, says Kian. And yes, pretty much through goes Nigel. But no, he's done a great job then, has Nigel as well. And fair play then for the other drivers as well. Then here comes Tonto, and there's contact between. Oh god, oh dear, that's not how you try and get. It's not push to pass, unfortunately. Then in Formula 1. But there we go then, Tonto then trying to get himself back underway, and has done as well. Then Jay Hings then is covering him off then into turn 4 then, and stays P14 for the time being. Now stuck behind MHD. Nigel's got himself a nice little gap then of 1.7 seconds ahead of MHD as well. Now he's flying on then, is the kick sour, then trying to get himself into contention for some points paying positions here. And to be fair for Nigel, then he is not too far off, then he's about 6 seconds away then from the top 10 as it stands. If he can keep it all together then on these intermediate compound tyres, he could be in contention then later on in this Grand Prix. Out in front then, the gap 1.3 seconds. It's stabilised a bit more between the top 2 then after the longer stint then on the wet compound tyres then for Mumford, then cost him the race lead then. If he did pit a bit earlier, I think he might have been able to hold on to the race lead then to Beast. But Beast pitting 2 laps earlier than the Alpine driver then has got himself back up into the race lead as well here. Well, 1.4 seconds, then Gordo 1.8 seconds back from Mumford, then 2 seconds back to Kiki, who is under pressure from Vessier, but Vessier has picked up a penalty somewhere, and I completely missed it. Then Reflection is 16 seconds back, but doing a great job then, his best performance so far this season, I think, as Tonto has taken 2 into turn 3, has he as well, and goodness me, that, oh god, there's 4 of them. There's going to, oh dear, no, Tonto, oh dear, that's not good, that is not good. And my goodness me, yes, oh god as well, Astra John then off. These 4 drivers are just trying to scare me, I think then, but they have done a fantastic job of keeping it clean just about then. I thought Tonto was going to get spun then by the MHD, by the Red Bull, sorry, of MHD in between Jay Hings and Tonto as well. Then that's a sort of pincer movement that we see so many times in F1, well, in F1 league racing that is. But MHD has dropped down to P15. Jay Hings up into P13 now as well then. 6 seconds for Nigel then to try and get himself into the fight then for the top 10. His teammate then of Meranov has got a few penalties to his name though, so potentially that might demote him out of the top 10 as it stands as well. We'll have to wait and see then. These four, still fighting away then as we go up towards turn 1 then to start off lap 22 on this occasion. Then we've got more action as Irvine has passed Mr. Elite, has a yes up into turn 3 then. Goodness me, there's, oh, what the hell has gone on there? And yes, my God. So Mr. Elite has been passed by Irvine then, and Father's passed Meranov then, and unfortunately for Meranov, I think that's his internet then not having a great time of it out there. But yes, there we go then. So there, unfortunately that was that one. Did Meranov is a Russian driver, did anyone know that? I think we saw that on the previous stream. Kian then, but yes, I'm pretty sure somebody told us that, or yourself told us that, I'm not quite sure, but I think it was when Sean was spectating him and commentating on him as well. As we've got McLaren then going through, passing a Haas then, and that is Mr. Elite up into P8 then, ahead then of Irvine and into, oh goodness me, into turn 9 then. Oh my God, what's happened to Mr. Elite then? Oh God, it's getting treacherous stuff indeed for both of these two, and Favre now waiting in the wings, and so is Meranov as well. As we head down towards turn 1 once again then, as we've got to make sure you don't go into the back then of the driver ahead of you. Then Favre then has gone through. Mr. Elite's gone very wide then and picked up a penalty. Favre is trying to get himself past Irvine as well, then up the hill then towards turn 3, and this is going to get spicy indeed, I think, then as we go into the heavy braking zone then of turn 3. There's contact between Favre and Irvine because Irvine just sped up then into the braking zone, and you can't really do that then unless you've been nudged from behind. But there we go then. Here comes Irvine then on the attack this time with Mr. Elite then, so can he try and get that P8 position back then down towards turn 4, then late on the brakes, not quite then. Oh goodness me, then into the back slightly, then a log tap then from Irvine. Oh goodness me, this is going to get tight indeed if he's going to go for a move into turn 5 then. Is he going to go for a move into turn 5? No, not quite. Thinks better of it then, which is probably quite smart then. Out in front, the gap is less than a tenth, and I didn't even notice what was going on out in front there, but now it's 0.2 of a second as we go through turn 1, and Mumford is back on the charge then once again then in the on the intermediate compound tyres this time, and trying to line up. What is going on there? I think maybe there's some sort of thing going on with the lobby then, because it seemed like Meranov has done the same sort of thing there as well. Then Mumford takes the lead. I'm sorry for the calmness of that one, but Mumford takes the lead, and I'm not quite sure how really. Yes, so there we go. Yeah, there we are then. Right, good stuff. Right then, Rocket League said I didn't, said Kian, as I think maybe Mumford's having some sort of technical difficulties here. I'm not sure what is going on then between the top two. Beast has dropped down to P2 as far as I can tell. On lap 24 then, so 2/3 of the way through the race then. Yes, so I'm not quite sure how Mumford's got the lead. I think he just used the lag switch to get himself past. Kiki's got a 3-second penalty then coming through into the final corner then as well. Then Beast now half a second then off the Alpine of Mumford as we head through into turn 1 once again. 3 seconds back is Gordon then, so the top two now stretching their legs out in front. Then I think it's not stopped then, has it? Has the rain, as we got more action then as Tonto has been passed by Astra John into turn 6 then, has he? Yes, he has then. Maranov picks up another 3-second penalty there, unfortunately for Maranov. I think he comes off behind his teammate then, because I think he's got over 6 seconds now. But Nigel then doing a good job then, soldiering on then into turn 9. Here comes Tonto then, he's trying to get himself back up into P14, then passing the Red Bull car, but not quite then just yet. Then Jay Hings then trying to catch up then to the, oh goodness me, we've got a problem then for a Racing Bull. It's Vanquish in the background there, and unfortunately for Vanquish then having an issue at the final turn, then trying to catch up to the fighting drivers ahead of us, and that's been very costly indeed then for the Racing Bull driver. Then one Racing Bull driver then going for a spin, then one going for the attack then, and trying to get himself past Mr. Elite. Then Mr. Elite, goodness me, trying to cut off Bath as well there. That was dodgy stuff, as goodness me, for Astra John then as well. He's flown off the circuit at turn 3. And he's lost out to Tonto and to Jay Hings as well here. Jay Hings up in the P13, but here comes Tonto then down towards turn 4. Can he make the move then into the braking zone then as well. Goes down the inside, then late on the brakes then for Tonto in the Haas. Then has he got the position? Yes, he has. Up into P13, then Jay Hings then down to P14 for the time being. Then Astrojon just recovering his composure then after going a bit deep then at the turn three hairpin. And here we go then down towards turn 9 once again. Then we've got a racing ball with no front, no right end plate there, and that is Favre. And then we've got Moranov then in the kick saber as well. Then so Favre then doing a great job of keeping the damage up then in this race as well. Then after getting damage in the Spanish Grand Prix last week. Beast and Mumford then holding station at this point. Beast is keeping Mumford honest then at this stage. Gordo has lost out to Kiki then, but of course on the penalty situation then it won't be a problem then for Gordo, because he's got penalties then for Vessia behind him and Kiki ahead of him, so he will gain that place back then as it stands. But we'll have to wait and see then in this race and how it's all going to change, how it's going to affect the position changes as well then towards the end of this Grand Prix. Five currently with no penalties then is looking to gain a place on Mr. Elite as well, regardless of overtaking him on circuit or not. But there we go, then we've got 10 laps to go at the end of this one, and the rain not showing any sign of disappearing just yet. Then it's still falling down from the sky, which is a typical sign of rain. But there you go. So that's my scientific prowess. Coming to the 4 then, yellow flags. It's for Vanquish then. Vanquish has spun the car at turn 3 then, trying to get himself back underway. And there we go then. So good stuff indeed. Anyone having problems with buffering on the stream? And well, I'm not, so it must be you. Well, I hope it's you, because I don't want it to be me. And Vanquish then going deep at turn 4 as well. Then goodness me, Vanquish having a few problems out there, and trying to get himself back into the pits as well. Then as Vanquish has crashed into the wall, and we know what the situation is about unwarranted safety cars. And so Vanquish, I think if you want to just get out of the race, get yourself back in the pit lane and take the license point for the pit and quit then, rather than getting a qualifying ban then, and of course a license point as well then for the intentional safety car, that is. Astra John, no, it's not Astra John, it's a Red Bull of MHD. MHD's had an issue then at the final corner as well then. Vanquish trying to get himself back into the box and to call it a day, I think then, for the Racing Bull driver then, unfortunately then not going his way here tonight in the Racing Bull. He's back in the pit lane now as well. So that is a shame then, as we've got Kydell going a bit wide then at the final corner then, but unfortunately he is, as Vanquish has called it a day then in the pits as well then. Beast is now 0.6 of a second behind the race leader of Mumford as it stands then. Gordo then is still in contention then for a podium place as well. The Vanquish's car then is just parked up in the garage, unfortunately then. That's 2 pit and quits in this Grand Prix, 2 retirements so far in this race. Then Jay Hings has been passed by Sweet MJP then into P14 then, 15 sorry I should say then, as Gordo has got himself back past Kiki as we head up the hill then towards turn 3. And oh goodness me, I thought Vessia was going to go into that move 3 wide there, but thinks better of it then. And I think we've got Kydell just getting out the way then of the race leaders and going through then. Vessia then trying to get himself past Kiki as well here. Vanquish has left the session then into turn 4. Vessia's got the inside then on the Mercedes then. Has he got the position though is the question. They're still side by side. We can't quite tell what's going on here, as Kiki has lost out then to the Ferrari then into turn 5. Then Vessia goes ahead into P4 then. Will these intermediate compound tyres hold out then to the end of the Grand Prix? We'll have to wait and see. They might have to be coming into the pit lane, I think, in a few minutes, because those tyres are going to be a bit worse for wear. Then Astra John might be in a fantastic position here if he can get his intermediate compound tyres to last 16 laps or so, because he would be in prime contention, I think, to get himself through without having to make an extra stop here, potentially. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what's going to go on then with the race leaders as well. Then Vessia then has got himself into contention then for a fight with Gordo then for P3 on track, that is. And Rocket Lee, sorry, has said that his laptop was having a mare, and goodness me, who's having a mare here as well then? Meranov and Farf are having a few problems, it looks like, as well then, as we head into the final quarter then. Once again, yellow flags, I think, for Kydell then getting out of the way. Then into turn 1 we go then, side by side with Farf and Meranov up the hill then into turn 1, and Farf has got himself back into P10. Yes, I'm not quite sure what was going on there between the kick Sauber, sorry, not the kick Alpine, and the Racing Bull then, that is. But there we go then, lap 29 then of 36 then has commenced, and Jay Hings picks up a penalty, unfortunately for Jay Hings. That's compounding his race out there as it stands. And potentially, if it's going to be intermediates to the end of the Grand Prix, we could see some drivers then out of the top 10 pitting for a new set of intermediate compound tyres and going for the fastest lap of the race, because the track is only going to be improving then at this stage. And so if you put the intermediate compound tyres on lap 35, and go for lap 36 then for a fastest lap. Then potentially we might see a few people going for the fastest lap then on lap 36 and even on intermediate compound tyres, because it's going to go, it's only going to get lighter in this race, I think, at this stage. R2 beat now all over the back of Reflection for that P6 position as we head on to lap 30 here. Up the hill then, Vessia is putting the pressure on Gora then, as we've got Beast and Mumford then still waiting in the wings, then potentially Beast is doing a bit of camping, then waiting for a mistake potentially to bounce then for the race lead once again. Then Mr. Lee passes Irvine into P8 now, and looking to get himself cemented into the top 10 for the McLaren driver as well. Then good stuff indeed. And Moranov dropping down to P11 then, but he's still in contention with Favre. Then driver of the day is in the comment section. You've got Mumford, Beast, Irvine and Vessia. We will have a look. We won't have a look then because we're watching this battle here. Goodness me. And side by side through here. Oh, goodness me. That's very tight indeed. Oh, my word then. Gordo, they're getting squirrely out there as well then. And what is happening then is Gordo's lets him through, but I think he's going to let Kiki through as well inadvertently. And into turn 10, they're going to go side by side through here. Gordo's gone wide. He's gone narrow actually, but he got, I think you might have got a warning for that. But there we go then. We'll have a quick look, like I said, then at the situation then with penalties. There is your penalty situation then as well. We'll have a look at the, no, we won't have a look at that. There is your penalty situation as well then. So 3 seconds for Vessia, then he will lose out then to Gordo potentially then. But Kiki then is in this fight as well then up the hill. Then Gordo doesn't need to fight really, because he can tell that both the drivers around him have got penalties to their name anyway, so he doesn't really need to worry so long as he stays within 3 seconds of the other drivers. But there we are then. So that is the situation then for Gordo and Kiki then, and Vessia as well then. Kaido in the background is in the McLaren. Unfortunately, Kaido has been lapped then as well. Then Tonto's had a not Tonto is, sorry, Farf is in the pit lane then. So that is interesting. So is Nigel as well then. So goodness me, soft compound tyres going on the kick Sauber then. My goodness me, we'll run through this pretty quickly then. There is the position changes as well then. Mumford's gained 4 places then. Beast has lost out from the race lead and pole position. Messier's up 6 places. That will be 5 then with the penalty situation as it stands then. Mumford is in the pit lane. Mumford is in the pit lane as well then. It could be a very quick, very interesting ending to this Grand Prix. We'll have to switch onto the tyres. Sorry about this, guys. But get your votes in for driver of the day. I think you might have to wait for driver of the day votes then towards the end of lap 36 then, because this is going to get exciting stuff indeed. Soft compound tyres going on. The Alpine. My goodness me. This is going to get spicy indeed then. Irvine is up into the top 10 as well. Then out of the pits comes Mumford. Oh, he's clouted the wall then already then on the exit then. So it doesn't indicate that the soft compound tyres are the best one to go for just yet then. Coming out of the pit lane now then. But it looks like there's a dry line forming. And how quickly will it form as well is the question. He's got to gain almost 25 seconds, I think that is, to Ultimate Beast then. And get himself back in contention. Then into the pits comes Tonto then from P11. Then is it going to be soft compound tyres for the Haas driver as well? We will have to wait and see. We've got more action as well. Swearderp's in the pits as well. Then Favre's pitted for intermediate compound tyres. So Favre then choosing the intermediate compound tyre to go on to. He's up into P12 now. And all over the back of Astra John then, goodness me, into turn 1. Then Mumford's picked up a 3-second penalty. Then I don't think it's the right call then for Mumford, unless it starts to dry out now in the next couple of corners. That is not just laps there, but corners then for Mumford as well here. Nigel then soft compound tyres coming out the pit lane is MHD then. So is Swearderp then right behind us. Nigel and Tonto then side by side heading out towards turn 3. Tonto is not going to have the knowledge then that Nigel has got then on the previous lap. Then into turn 3 we go then, and Tonto has slowed the car down just about in time then, but Nigel I think is going to have the he's not going to have the extra grip and the extra power, unfortunately. Then on the exit then as well, we're heading towards turn 4 now. Mumford then is not gaining then on the top 4 then. This could have been a calamitous strategy call then from the Alpine driver. Yes, he's lost traction again there, and trying to get himself on the power too early then, unfortunately, then, as we got more action in the background. Then R2 Beat's gone off wide. More action then for Nigel. Nigel's off the circuit then into turn 4 and 5 then on the exit then of turn 4 and 5 then trying to get himself back on the circuit. Then goodness me, there's an Alpine there. You can't get yourself back on like that. It's too dangerous. Favre sets the fastest lap of the race then. MHD's picked up a 3-second penalty then, but Nigel's starting to struggle now on the soft compound tyres. Then Kaido on the intermediate compound tyres is struggling as well then, but Kaido should be alright I think on those intermediates at this stage of the race anyway then, but we'll have to wait and see then. Gordo then is holding on then to Vessia. Vessia's up into P2 now as well then, and could be on for a podium place then for the Ferrari driver as well then, if he can hold on to it. I think with the penalty situation then it would still keep him in his place as well. Then Nigel's retired then on the circuit then. I think that could be a safety car, and that could be no, it might not be a safety car now. It's not a safety car, but Nigel has retired then at the final corner. Then I think the soft compound tyres are just showing that that is the wrong choice to go for. Then those soft compound tyres are not the right tyre to be on, and that is why Favre's pitted for the intermediate compound tyres, and that could be a masterstroke then from Favre as well. Then out in front, Kiki and Gordo switching places. Then Gordo now dropping down to P4, but like I said, he doesn't have to fight the Mercedes or the Ferrari then for position unless he's outside of that 1 second, 3 second window. Then at the final lap, then Favre picks up a penalty. Then coming through the final corner, he hasn't changed his front wing. Then he's trying to get himself into contention then for that top 10 position. Then Favre sets the fastest out of the race once again. Then Astra John is in the pit lane. So we're going to have all sorts of action here. Tonto has had a problem then, and Tonto has been lapped, I think, then from Beast. I think that was Beast, as Astrodron is in the pit lane as well. Then Tonto coming through into the penultimate couple of corners. Then yellow flags for an Alpine off the circuit is Sweet MJP, who's had an issue in the Alpine. Then at Sector 3, beginning of Sector 3, then into the pits comes Astrodron. Then into the pits comes MHD as well. Then there's a lot of pit activity here as we go through to finish off lap 34, then on to lap 35. Now, no more safety cars in this Grand Prix. Kiki's had a problem then at the exit of the final corner, trying to get himself back underway. Then hopefully that car is not too damaged for the Mercedes driver as well. Then into the pits comes Astrodron then and MHD. Then soft compound tyres going on then for the final laps or two, but unfortunately there's not enough laps, I don't think, to warrant pinning for the intermediate compound, for the dry compound tyres now at this stage of the race. There was only 1.5 laps to go then for the race leader as we head down towards turn 3 for Beast. Turn 4 for Beast, sorry, goodness me. Tonto's picked up a 3-second penalty. Then there's more action then, as we've got another problem then for it wasn't for it was for somebody else then. I'm not quite sure who it was then. It was somebody else, but I didn't see. DRS has been enabled now, so it is dry enough now for the soft compound tyres. I'm not sure, unfortunately for Mumford, I'm not sure it's enough then at this stage then, which is a very big shame indeed. There could be some faster laps coming in though on the final lap then, which could potentially be an extra bonus then, an extra bonus point then for those on the soft compound tyres. We will have to wait and see then. I'm not sure if Mumford is going to be able to use this to his advantage. Then he's gone purple by 1.6 seconds though in Sector 3, into Sector 2 I should say. Then he's going to have that gap coming down pretty quickly over the final lap. Then Beast has started off the final lap here with a 4.6 second advantage, and he is cruising to the finish line here, I think, is Beast. Just trying to keep those oh goodness me, what's happened to Kiki's off the circuit. Then Kiki's had an issue at the start-finish straight then, and Mumford is also off the circuit as well, and Mumford then is struggling then to keep that car under control as well here, but I'm not quite sure why, because Mumford's on the soft compound tyres. You'd expect that Mumford then, who's pushing a bit too hard I think there, but Mumford you would expect then would be able to keep the car under control. Then it's now dry conditions though, so you would think it's not too difficult in the with the soft compound tyres, but it seems to be a problem then for Mumford then coming through turn 3 now as well. We will have to come back to all of that, because here comes Beast then. Beast is on intermediate compound tyres, but he don't care what tyre he's on then. He's going to come round lap 36 then to finish off the final couple of corners then and claim the victory here in Austria then for the Mercedes driver. Once again then, another victory under his belt then here in Austria this time. As we cross through the final corner then, Beast then comes across the line then to win the Austrian Grand Prix then for the Mercedes team. A brilliant victory then for Ultimate Beast then. What a race then, from pole position to the checkered flag. Then he claims the top spot then here in Austria. Brilliant stuff indeed then for Beast. Well done indeed. Then Gordo takes P2 then away from Vessi with the penalty situation. Then Gordo, another fantastic drive then for another podium for Aston Martin, then takes P2 with a brilliant drive as well. Then Vessi then regains P3, then he stays P3 in the end with a brilliant drive as well then from him. Another podium for Vessia then under his belt, then a fantastic season so far as well for him. Mumford then on the difficult strategy, let's put it that way, then he holds on to P3 in the end then from reflection just about then, but an interesting strategy call then at the very final point there as well. Then reflection P5, R2 beat P6, then Irvine P7, Mr. Elite P8 in the end. Brilliant stuff from him. Kiki P9, then Maranov P10 I think. Favre will cross the line. Unfortunately, he's going to be overtaken by Astrodron then, but Astrodron I think has got some penalties. Astrodron sets the fastest lap of the race then. Maranov P10 then, Favre P11, as we've got some more other people crossing the line as well there, but goodness me, what a race end that was indeed, and it looked like it was dry then for the final couple of laps there, but not enough then for those who pitted a bit too early for the soft compound tyres then. Driver of the day is Astrodron then, but of course it will go to the drivers in the comments section, so vote very quickly then before it finishes then for your driver of the day as well. Fantastic stuff indeed. Then brilliant stuff indeed as well. Then for all the all the drivers who got to the checkered flag there as well. Beast then takes the win. Then Gordo P3, P2, sorry, Vessia P3, Mumford P4 in the end. Then Reflection P5, RTB P6. Then brilliant stuff indeed for both those two. Irvine P7, well done to him as well. Then Mr. Elite P8. Then he should be a driver of the day candidate as well. Then P8 from Mr. Elite is fantastic. Kiki P9 in the end. Unfortunately, that didn't work out in the end for him. Moranov rounds off the top 10. Then Farf P11, Astrodron then in the Red Bull P12, then with fastest lap of the race as well. Then Jay Hings P13, Tonto P14, Kaidel P15, Swimmer P16, MHD P17, Nigel and Vanquish and Kamara Racer unfortunately retired from the Austrian Grand Prix. 91% tyres at the end, says Gordon, then, so that is pretty steep indeed then. But there we are, then that is your classification, then that is the order then for the Austrian Grand Prix for silver. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody. We'll hopefully get some invitations to the interviews in just a jiffy, but we'll get themselves sorted then and wait for Smithy to get himself sorted as well. But yeah, there we go then, fantastic stuff indeed then from the top, from all 17 drivers who got themselves to the checkered flag here tonight. Brilliant stuff indeed. Then we'll start off with Beast, our race winner. Then Beast from pole position to the checkered flag. Then you had a bit of a fight then with Mumford at one point during that midpoint of the race as well there. But you had the race under your thumb then for most of it.
Gordo, move. I can't hear a thing.
We can't hear Beast, unfortunately, then. So there we go. Yes. Well, we'll come to somebody else then, unfortunately. We'll come to Gordo in P2 then. Gordo, a fantastic race from yourself then. Kept it clean then when we're battling then with the Mercedes and the Ferrari at the end there as well then. But you're probably aware of their penalties, I imagine, then to the checkered flag.
Yeah, I knew they had penalties. I didn't want to fight them too hard. My main fear was being on 2 warnings. I was scared I'd get that penalty, so I did try to stay there or thereabouts and try and stay at the lead of that train, but I wasn't too bothered about fighting it that hard.
And you did a great job once again then to get yourself on the podium places. A fantastic qualifying lap. I think we saw you in the comment section at that point saying that you were quite impressed with yourself then on that qualifying lap. Where did that come from?
I don't know. No, it's just I've always struggled with qualifying, and that's the first lap I've done in a long time that I've not had anywhere where I've thought, oh, that's from a tenth there, or that's from half a tenth there. It really just felt like there wasn't any mistakes in the lap, so it was a good lap. I was proud of that, yeah.
Perfect stuff indeed, and it's cemented your position then to fight for the podium places in the end as well there. You saw the likes of Mumford, the likes of Kiki then having a bit of a fight with yourself as well, and you saw Vessia as well joining you in the latter stages as well. But you held them off very well indeed then, and are you pleased with the P2 in this race, or were you expecting a bit more then potentially?
No, I'm definitely happy with the second. Obviously, when you start in the front row, you want to try and go for it. But the one thing I would say, if Mumford didn't go off in that second last lap or whatever, there's a genuine chance I could have seen him getting us round about that area, because as I said in the comments, I mean, the tyres were 90% and you were scared with every slide that was going to go pop. So one more lap and I doubt I'd have been in the podium.
Well, fantastic stuff indeed. Then P2 in the end is no laughing matter. Then a fantastic job then from P2 here in the Aston Martin in Austria. Then fantastic. Vessia then P3, another podium for yourself then as well. Then in the Ferrari this time, and yeah, you're looking quite strong then in the Ferrari this season.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Seemed better in race pace than quali pace, which is usual anyway. My quali lap I was not happy with anyway. It was my first lap, so it wasn't the best.
And once again, a battle for the podium places then with Kiki and with Gordo in the end, sorry. But that was pretty good stuff indeed then to claim the podium as well with the final stages. Did you ever think dry compound tyres might be the best way to go then at the end of that race?
It switched on literally on like the second to last lap, third to last lap that it would be, so it was a risk, and yeah, it was a good idea that we stayed out.
And yeah, it worked out in the right way in the end. Like for all those who did stay out, we saw some people actually pit for intermediates again, to be fair. But yeah, so it was all over the place in that last few laps, I should say. Then that's well done, keeping your head, then getting yourself another podium then as well. Then brilliant stuff for Vessi LMP3 here tonight then as well. Then I'm not sure if Beast has got his mic working yet.
I'm here.
Beast, then P1 tonight. Then we did come to you at the beginning, but we couldn't quite tell what you were saying. But another race victory. Then, like I said, from pole position, then to the checkered flag. Then you were quite comfortable in that race, were you?
I don't know if comfortable is the correct word. Definitely pace-wise, definitely. I don't know what Mumford's wings was, but his straight line speed was insane. But yeah, just managed to hold on.
And like I said, you had a bit of, like you mentioned there, you had a bit of a battle then with Mumford in the middle of the race. But yeah, the unfortunate, well, I'm not quite sure if timing of the strategy is the correct word, but whatever happened then in the strategy pit wall then for the Alpine then really helped alleviate any pressure then towards the final few laps then for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I was very, very, very surprised that he boxed when on my screen it was still raining. It wasn't even like stopped raining. And then he lost time to like 23 seconds at one point, I think it was. I was like, yeah, easy dub. But I still had to save my tyres because I was on like 80% at this point again. 2 races in a row, 80% tyres. Not fun.
Well, it seems like yourself and Gordon then are having a bit of a tire. Well, who's going to get a puncture first in that race as well? Quite a few of them were carrying on, then soldiering on those compound tyres towards the end, and of course it paid off in the end as well for yourself. Then fantastic stuff indeed. Then Beast, then P1 here in Austria tonight. Then we'll be back in Silver, then of course in a week's time then for more ALR action in Silverstone then. So stay tuned for that. Then of course we've got we've got Spielberg here tomorrow night then in Austria for bronze as well. Then before we head to a preview of Silverstone in the 100% League on Wednesday night as well. So stay tuned to ALR. Plenty more action coming up then, and we will see you very soon.